Good morning from Yami BTV, wishing you all well, of course, right? So I've been asked by a few of you to do a video on how to deal with being outnumbered by your enemies in a prison environment, right? So I've got to give you all the pros and cons, the way that I looked at it back then, the way that I look at it now as an older man, and there will be many men who, being in prison, would have lived a life where they might have done harm to people, or even if you was in prison, you might have done harm to people, and then it's what goes around comes around. It's your turn to get it, because you have to feel and think, why would they be after you in the first place if you hadn't done anything or been affiliated to someone else who had problems with your enemies, so and so forth. The game go, because sometimes people get attacked in prison. They haven't actually met the people that they did harm to, but because they have history for being on the wrong gang these days, and back in the day, affiliations with enemies, like I just said, right? So for me, times when there has been a hit out on me and you feel closed in, you feel weak, you feel like you don't know where it's going to come from. My way of doing it, right, at that time was to know the person that was doing it, putting it out on me, confronted them, weren't saying nothing, but they're going to work behind the scenes to get me done. So I have to watch who they talk to, who's affiliated to. You'd have to have the brains to know where it's coming from, because they could be on another wing in that prison while you're on a wing with people that know that person. And of course, there will be hitmen that might want to take the job for payment. Anyway, I remember when it happened to me. Remember the story I put up the day a gangster put a hit on me way back in the day. There were people coming to me saying, yeah, me, they offered me a hit, but you know what? Because it's you and blah, blah. But I had to sit down in myself for 3 days, spying out the curtain, thinking, do I do a nutty one and just come out with a Friday the 13th knife and get the FNL out of that prison, but go out on my shield, right? I witnessed certain men along the years turn up with sure defeat on their hands, because you're not going to really win against 5, 6, 7, 8 geezers. But the heart to turn up, which would have been my motto as well, but you will lose, but it will just show your enemies that, boy, you turned up. If it was 1-on-1 or 1-on-2, if you could put up a good fight with so many, that when his time comes, when it's going to be 1 or 2 of you, but the serious danger is also that you could die. A lot of the time, men might have weak moments in prison. Some men are badder on the outside than on the inside. They might have families. They might have a sentence that they want to get out on, and they don't want to get involved in any fights. But, karma, reap what you sow. There's no timing for when it's your time in that shit life or fake life we talk about so much on Yami BTV. But then you would have to lose your pride, your whole ego, if you have to run off. Even if you go down to segregation, they can still get you down there. And then even if you get a move out of that prison, they can find out where you are. These days especially, and even in the old days, word on the street, you can get information of certain prison officers to which prisons they went to, and then you can get someone else to do it when you go down there. So your humiliation of running, and there's a couple of people up on YouTube that have legged it and talked like they're big gangsters and gone on the protection wing, right? Maybe they wanted to come out, they realised that they want to come off the Cat A book. But by doing so, for that person, some of you that asked me the question, that if you decide to go on the protection wing because your families, because you want to get out, because you're scared, that life that you signed up for, effectively, if we're talking the shit moral codes that we talk about in that life, that you basically signed off. I was always of the belief that when it's your time to get it, you just got to turn up, because after all, many of us had victims of all kinds, with leaving blood on our own hands for what we did. And I wouldn't have seen why you should take the easy route out when you didn't give others the chances that they probably needed that day. But in reality, for as an older man now, like I said, now, my best advice, look, prison's a dangerous place now. And I understand some of you lot are more that age bracket now where they hunt in a pack of wolves. And the old rules were you couldn't really gang up on someone because you'll be looked at as, that ain't fair, the old lot would have done it. Well, we could say that they're cowards, the kids, because they're doing things in gangs and that. But alas, the game's moved on. Times have changed. The way that we might have seen it way back in the day, the rules are different now, right? Some of those kids go in reception when they go into prison and say, I'm not allowed. They ask them where you got beef with, which gangs you in, and you're effectively grasping because you're telling them, listen, I can't go on that wing and I can't go on that wing. I mean, in the old days, if you did one wrong move like that and it got round to the real, the old hierarchy, no one would really want to know you. They'll take that as a wrong move, the holy Bible of the criminal way of thinking, which in later life, I believe, is a load of shit now, the moral code, because there's only a few men that I know that if you look at all the rules, you mustn't hit women, you mustn't do anything to kids, you mustn't rob off your own, there's not many you mustn't grasp, you mustn't do this. There's many men that did it from that life that are big names that didn't do all those rules, all right? But there's only a few in my mind that really stuck to them, and we know who they might be. But nah, it's a load of shit. My real advice to you asking me the question is, family, effectively, if you are scared and you have to run off and you never want to be seen again, and thinking that inside of you, I would say effectively, just come out of that life and come out of that game, because then it wouldn't have been for you. That's the only way that I could do it. But yeah, that would be my advice, because sometimes when you're outnumbered, man, all the plotting and planning, waiting around to get done, I used to want to know where it's coming from, do all that bit, and then be prepared when they come, depending if you're in the wrong or right. If you're in the right, then many men will just come out and say, look, what's happening here? And many men do suicide missions to get out of prison and go out on their shield, so to speak, and just run into the crowd and just do a mad one and then get moved out, because you would get more stripes, more badges of honor for committing such a heroic act in that life, even though it's a madman thing, really. But in reality, for you lot that are asking me the questions in later life, I say to you, whatever the reasoning for and your intention, because if you're doing it because of your family, if you know it's that, if you're doing it because you have to get out, if you don't, you're going to stay longer, and you think the best option is that, if you're doing it because you're scared, then sign off or out the game, all right? So I'll be up later on, early morning talk. Love you all dearly.